Hey there, it's Matt. It is Thursday, September 21st. It's been a long time since I've done a sit down talking about cops video actions, cops actions caught on video. But that's what I'm going to do today. There's a lot of stuff going around the internet, social media, regarding a Ring camera video that captured a Columbus, Ohio officer and her actions. Going to apologize in advance. Sound quality's a little bad. My desktop mic took a dump, so I'm using my headphones. Anyway, let's take a look at that video.
Sprite's good, especially that gallon Sprite.
Oh, you know what I want to do? Do you ever see that Sprite challenge? They drink a bottle of Sprite and try to burp.
Oh yeah.
Hi.
Yeah, she's in bed now. It's late now, she's already asleep.
Well, it still happened though, right?
Yeah. I just the whole point. I just wanted you guys to come over and talk to her. I mean, I just want her to realize what this was. I mean, in reality, there's not much you guys probably can do about it, is there?
I mean, she could probably get charged with child porn.
Who, she can?
Mm-hmm.
She's 11 years old.
She's creating it, right?
She's 11 years old.
Doesn't matter. She's still making porn.
No, she's not. She's being manipulated by a grown-ass adult on the
Is she
internet.
taking pictures now?
You guys have a nice evening.
Okay.
Thank you for coming. Are you serious? Have a nice evening.
So let me just start before I get into any of this other stuff about the video that I'm going to talk about. I just want to say the behavior exhibited by this female officer is absolutely reprehensible.
You went full retard, man. Never go full retard.
This is insane. Obviously I know a lot of cops. We've all worked with some less than ideal people in our careers. Doesn't matter what career you're working in. You've always got that. You've had that one coworker that was just a jackass that screwed things up for everybody else. This person is clearly one of those people. This person is probably worse. This response here is probably worse than any of my bad coworkers I ever worked with, who would spend hours trying to talk themselves out of taking a report. This is inexcusable. To top it off, my understanding is this female officer here has only got 4 years on the department. So it's not like she's a 20-year person who's burned out on dealing with crime and dealing with people and people's problems. This is a person who's at the start of her career, and she's acting like this. All right, so let's talk about why the cops are there. According to the text in the video there, the dad called the cops because his 11-year-old daughter was manipulated by a adult male online into sending nude photos of herself. I don't know if Columbus, Ohio Police Department has released any further information. I highly doubt it, because the daughter being 11 you don't release that kind of information to the public. But I can only assume, based on the interactions between the female officer and the dad, that is actually why he called. Those are the statements made by the female officer, although totally wrong, are consistent with what dad claims the cops were there for. I just happened to be friends with a person who just retired from the Columbus, Ohio Police Department recently. I'm not going to say exactly when, because I don't need to rat them out, but they are very aware of the officer in this video. Never worked with her, but they do know her and her reputation. I should say they don't know her personally. They do know her reputation. Apparently, she files lots of equal employment opportunity complaints with the department, complaining about, I'm assuming, things like, I didn't get that job I wanted because I'm female, all kinds of stuff like that. Didn't get into the nature of those complaints, but just based on the way things were said to me, I'm assuming that's what it was about. But getting beyond that, so let's talk about this. The person who uploaded this video apparently is known to Columbus, Ohio Police Department. They're not big fans of the cops. Not that this interaction is going to change that at all. Total missed opportunity here. All right, so let's talk about this video. You can see in the text that the person who uploaded the video included with it that they had called the cops at about 6 p.m. and it the cops did not show up till midnight. First, let's talk about that. Okay, that unfortunately is just a reality of modern policing. Most departments across the United States have been decimated as far as hiring goes, thanks to the defund the police movement everywhere, which hit Columbus, Ohio, particularly. So part of that is going to be due to staffing. What this guy called the cops about, as a parent, I totally get it. It's a very upsetting situation. But in reality, this is a cold report call. Cold report call in that it's not something that's ongoing. There's no one's life in danger. The child is at home with the parents. The suspect is nowhere to be seen. So this is a cold report call. It definitely is something that needs to be reported. It's something that needs to be followed up on, but it's not something that needs to be handled right now or someone's going to die. So cold report calls unfortunately fall at the very bottom of the line in terms of how officers respond. Obviously, in progress calls are first. High priority things like shootings, things like that. So in the overall scheme of things, unfortunately, even though this is a child sexual abuse type of report, it's still going to be down low in the priority level of all the kind of calls that cops respond to. That's the reason it took the cops 6 hours to get there, or I can't say that for sure, but in my experience, that's the reason it takes cops so long to get to some report calls. As a parent, I would be very upset. This guy was actually calmer than I probably would have been, but we'll get into that in a second. So they knock on the door at midnight. Takes a couple minutes for the guy to get to the door and answer it. He's probably asleep like most of us would be. The female officer doesn't even really ask, hey, tell me what's going on. Hey, I apologize it took us so long to get here. Why don't you tell me what's up? I get that your kid's asleep. It's midnight. 11-year-olds, thankfully, should be sleeping at 11 o'clock. So that's a plus on parenting there. I get that they're not going to be able to talk to the kid. But you can ask the dad, hey, why don't you give me a rundown, make sure what was in my call was correct. Or, hey, I'm here because they said this is what happened. Can you tell me what happened? Obviously your daughter needs to break it down more, but let's talk about it. So that's, the whole start of the interaction was a little bit off. And that's because I'm assuming the female officer is reacting to the male's, the way he answered the door. Clearly, the female officer is probably not a parent. Otherwise, she would understand why the male was answering the door like that. So let's talk about the male who answered the door. Apparently, this guy is not a fan of the cops. Okay, doesn't really matter. He's not the victim of the crime. You can't treat an 11-year-old daughter, an 11-year-old girl, like a piece of crap just because her dad's a piece of crap. And I'm not saying this guy is. I don't know anything about him, but that's the impression I'm getting from the way this officer's acting. She's totally disregarding this 11-year-old victim because of dad. So getting beyond that, so let's just talk about what she says here. She's saying that that the 11-year-old daughter, who is the victim of a child sexual predator, she's saying the 11-year-old daughter can be arrested for producing child porn. Really? Are you that stupid? This is a victim of a crime. 11-year-olds do not go out, produce child porn, and distribute it. That's not what they're going to get in trouble for. This is a child who is a victim of a sexual predator. That kid is a victim. Do you understand that? Victim. This is somebody, obviously it's midnight. I don't know what day of the week it is. Doesn't matter if it's a school day or not. You're not going to wake that kid up at 11 o'clock and talk to him. This is where you tell the dad, hey, I understand this is what's going on. This is something we definitely need to look into. Obviously, we don't want to talk to your kid at midnight. They're going to be tired. They're not going to be with it enough to give us a good statement. So we're going to contact you tomorrow. And then you do follow up tomorrow, whether it's you or you give it to a beat partner or you pass it on to detectives. This is something that needs to be followed up on. This is not how you handle this call. As for the content of whether the interactions this 11-year-old had with the dude online, I don't know anything about that. None of us do. Only the parents, and even at this point, well, probably now, because Columbus, Ohio Police Department is investigating this. They've probably recontacted the parent here, and I'm hoping they're doing the right thing. But let's go back to talking about this female officer. She's 4 years into her career, and she's already doing stuff like this. She's already filing multiple complaints for the way she feels she's being treated at work. And that she thinks she's being treated that way, whether it's because of her gender or who knows what. 4 years into my career, I didn't want anybody knowing my name. It's not one of those things where you want to have a reputation for complaining in any career, whether it's law enforcement or not. So I'm going with entitled millennial here. And then 4 years into her career, she's already treating victims like absolute dog crap. This is somebody who does not need to be wearing a badge. On that note, having been in law enforcement, I understand that it's not like other careers where you can just fire somebody because they did something stupid. In law enforcement, there's disciplinary processes, especially for bigger agencies. It's a lot different than a small agency. Bigger agencies, you got a whole disciplinary process to make sure that supervisors aren't treating certain people unfairly, which does happen. And I'm not saying it happens just in law enforcement. Again, that's every career. You've got that boss who's always been a jerk to everybody. So in bigger departments, it's very common to have certain processes that have to be followed before somebody can be fired. So I just want to clarify, in this video I talk a lot about the female officer, and that's because she's the primary officer on this call. She's dealing with the citizen. The other guy, at least from the appearances, the other guy is just standing there as a cover officer. Don't know if he's a trainee or a training officer, or if he just happens to be a beat partner who got stuck going to the call with her. That said, he is as much on the hook for this as she is. If you're at a call and your partner's handling it incorrectly, that's where you step in and you take over. Doesn't matter what the circumstances are. You don't let your beat partners, you don't let your coworkers, you don't let your trainee or training officer treat victims like this. This is, like I said, when I was specifically speaking about her, this goes for both of them. Their behavior on this is absolutely incorrect. Should not be allowed. They should both be facing discipline, if not being fired. Anyway, I hope everything has been treating you guys well, and got some new replacement stuff on order, so hopefully I can start knocking out some more videos here pretty soon. And that's all I got for you today. Have a good weekend.